In today's episode of the mini podcast, we take the best moments of 2019 and put them all into the best of 2019. The best interviews, the best dials. I'm just playing. I'm not playing. It is a good mini episode, but wishing you the best 2020, New Year's. Dial in. Have a great one. Enjoy the mini podcast.
So now we're 2019. Over the, paraphrase, over the past 6-7 years, you've been, was it fair to say, part-time? How would you describe what you've done online over that, juncture?
Yeah, I guess I'd always kind of considered it a hobby. And you could probably say more closely that part-time within the past year is probably more accurate. I've been more consistent with, probably just on the Twitch side doing 20-ish plus hours and then YouTube as well. Not so much lately, which will be changing, but I've always put a decent amount of hours into producing videos. And the reason I never did a lot of YouTube sometimes is I don't want to force myself to play games that I didn't like or whatever, or maybe if I just didn't quite have the energy level at the end of the day, which is, obviously not ideal if you want to grow your channel or something and you want to be consistent. But at the same time, I never liked the idea of putting content out there that I didn't feel met a certain standard, I guess. So, but yeah, for the most part, I've always treated it as a hobby and kind of part-time and just something I like to do.
So you said in the past year, so say beginning of 2018, you started taking it more serious, consistently part-time. What sparked you to do that? What sparked you to say, hey, now I'm going to start doing this more consistently?
It was just one of those things where I guess it kind of dawned on me that, for a while, I almost thought that the ship had sailed in a way based on, I kind of always regretted not actually getting on a surfboard and trying to ride the Spelunky wave a little bit harder and taking that and doing some, because I played another game, Tokyo Jungle, that was actually really successful back at that time. And then I just kind of stopped. And I was always like, man, what if I just, kept doing that? Where would I be today? And then I thought that for so long. And I was like, you know what, though? Video games are a constant of life, right? Everybody's always going to be playing video games. I feel like there's always room for hopefully decent content out there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of really just what dawned on me. And I said, you know what? I have a golden opportunity here. I've got a bit of an audience, I guess, and lots of opportunity around me. And I mean, the NLSS community is absolutely fantastic. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try to spend more time doing this. And, sure enough, over the months, it kind of been ticking up and a little bit more support. And then that's kind of what fuels you. And was saying hey, actually, I can go down this path maybe still. And yeah, towards the end of 2018 is when I was like, all right, it's actually from the past year, there's some pretty substantial growth. And then it just got in my head as if I'm doing this part-time now, 20-ish hours, whatever, and I've found this amount of success, what happens if I can, and that's my not my bad energy, but that's the second half of my day when I don't have a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm. When you're when you're leaving, you get home from work in 8 hours.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm this is when I'm, kind of not at my best in the day. So what if I give my best hours to this and more hours, what can I accomplish? So I'm still very much in that, I've just finished my third day of full time, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But I mean, I'm hoping that it's gonna continue onwards.
So let's talk about the decision. So now you made the decision. Well, when did you actually make the decision that you're gonna go from part-time to full-time? Which, to clarify for everyone, that means you've had a stable, steady job for the past decade plus as a civil engineer. Is that right?
No. So I'm not an engineer.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to school for urban planning and specialize in urban design. I work with a lot of engineers. Specifically, I worked.
No longer.
Yeah.
You gave him the deuce. You said, I'm out here.
Peace. I'm out. Yeah, mic drop and all. Yeah, so I kind of more facilitated and orchestrated a lot of different
So
people
like
within.
you played SimCity with your job, more or less, kind of.
Sort of, yeah. Project management, construction management. So to give a very quick idea is our company, we build power facilities. They do. I got to get used to that. So a lot of offshore wind now, some solar, onshore wind, and thermal, like natural gas and stuff, all that. So when we do that, we develop it. We put out a bid to bring in an EPC contractor, so they'll do the engineering, procurement of major equipment, and the construction. So they build it, and then my role, my department was kind of overseeing that, making sure that they're building it to specification and the overall quality and everything is satisfactory. And then when they're done, there's kind of a turnover process to us, and then we transition it to our operations. So we typically would operate the facility ourselves, and then you do that for so long. And I could get more detail, but that's the general.
When you
gist.
speak about your job, I mean, there's a definite sense of pride, and it seemed like you enjoyed it, and you're not saying like, oh, I slugged off to work. It sounded like you liked it when you're talking about it, like you're excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was always really proud with that, because I found like it's ultimately an important job, and the whole process is important. People need energy, you need power and all that kind of stuff. So I was just one little cog in that machine, so to speak. But I found pride in it for sure, and two, because we were working towards a identical finite product. So I could go, day one, you go to the site and they do groundbreaking and all that stuff, and they're digging. It doesn't look like too much, but then fast forward a few years, you go there and you see the wind turbine, it's spinning, or just fields and fields and fields of solar panels or whatever it is, and you're kind of like, hey, I helped with that. Whether it's a small way or a big way, like every part of the process is crucial. So I was always very proud of working in that realm for sure. So when even to this day.
So when you had to make that, when you didn't have to do anything, when you made that decision, or can you take us through the process of, okay, hey, you have this job, it sounds like you like it, and then you have this opportunity that you've been doing since 2012 and taking it serious for the past year. What is that decision like in your head? Because leaving a job that you've been working for 10 years to take a shot on something that is definitely a little bit of a gamble, although you do have an audience. What was that process like, and can you talk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy. It's still not easy, but the other side of the coin is, and somebody actually mentioned this the other day, but you don't quit your job, you quit your boss. And I don't want to burn bridges or talk too bad, but that was kind of the thing that I had been struggling with the past few years. I had, the old boss that actually kind of brought me in, and then he had left. So it's kind of like
he's not your guy. He's not the guy that brought you in,
he's not the guy. Yeah. Try as I might to kind of make things happen. You want to kind of move on with your career and all that stuff. It wasn't working. So the decision actually just came down to, like, I started looking at behind the scenes and the Twitch analytics the past few months, and I was saying, one, I'm generally seeing an upward trend, but I'm kind of at this point the past few months where I'm like, that's decent amount of money, and if I could at least maintain that plus or minus, that's actually like I could make a living off of that. So I was saying to myself, if I can do that part-time, as scary a leap of faith as it is, I want to try this, because I know, I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of passion for playing games and hanging out with the community and all that stuff. So that made it less scary. I think the scariest part ultimately for me was just like telling my parents, like, hey, I'm going from this kind of fairly stable, although I'm mentally, I was more miserable every year. I'm going from that to doing this thing that you guys don't really understand, but brings me a lot of joy. And I do see that, there's less of a ceiling. Kind of, I had hit the ceiling where I was, and then this other place.
Well, you hit the financial ceiling, and you hit the ceiling of miserable at your job. Or
yeah, like, I mean, it's I mean, technically there is, I guess, room to grow in there, but you have to really get into the nitty gritty. It's too political.
Yeah.
You know, people kind of taking credit for other people's works.
They're
All
like-
this. It's similar.
Like, I just don't want to deal with it. So what did you tell, exactly paraphrasing? What did you tell your parents? Like, hey, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to be online.
Yeah, no, I remember I called them up. My mom answered, and I was just like, you know, we talked about the weather. We talk about some gardening, whatever. And she's like, oh, what else?
You eased into it. Little weather,
yeah,
little
I
gardening.
had to ease into it. And then actually, it's you know, the stereotypical or cliche. She's like, what else is going on? I was like, oh, actually, I have some big news. She's like, oh, do I need to sit down? I was like, yeah, I guess so. And so, you know, I told her, and she was like, oh, okay. And
well, what did you say to her? Like
it's just like, so I put in my 2 weeks notice at work.
it's like, oh, did
But
you
like
get a
when
new
I
job?
said it, like I was like, I was beaming. I was so happy. She could hear the happiness in my voice. She's like, oh, you know, what's going on? Like, what are you gonna do, and all this kind of stuff. And I was telling her, she's like, well, wow, you sound so happy. And I was like, well, I am. And then she passed me off to the old man. And, you know, he, again, they're both very supportive. That they were just trying to figure out what streaming is, because it's not something I ever talked to. Like, they know, like, I make videos and stuff as hobbies and whatnot, but they didn't really know it's like such an active part of my life. So when I told them I was switching to that, they're like, well, how are you going to make money? And then I kind of had to explain, especially the back end of all that stuff to my dad, because he was curious, and you know, he wants to obviously make sure, like, oh, you're not just making peanuts or something like that. But you know, since then they've kind of come around to it, and my dad we've had a few more conversations, and he's basically like, you know, work hard, you know, don't slack off, get that cheddar, so to speak. And
go get him, Beb.
Yeah, babe. And you know, it's been really cool, and you know, other family have been supportive as well. It's kind of I think everybody's kind of like, interest is peaked, though, you know, like they're pulling for me, but at the same time it's like, what's actually going to happen, right? And I don't even know. So I'm taking it day by day at this point. And yeah.
So you play this game, and is their office in Vancouver? Where's their office at?
Yeah, they're in Vancouver. They're all Vancouver developers. So,
so like, come to our office. And so you have any insight as to what the heck you're about to walk into? Do they tell you anything?
Just I thought maybe, I mean, at PAX West last year, they're working on one of their new games. So I'm just thinking like, oh, maybe they want to do something with that new game,
like a promotion with your channel or something.
Yeah, no clue, like just no idea. I'm just like, I'm, whatever, I'll just like go in. And then they're like, just bring your oboe kind of thing, and I'm just like, oh, what? Okay, okay. I mean, I do play music on YouTube and stuff, but I mean, I'm not known for it, I feel like, but I'll just bring my oboe for it. And then they're like, okay, so like, but
I guarantee, I guarantee they watch your Hikari videos, because how else would they know that? You know what I'm saying? I mean, but anyway, sorry. I get fired up because when people take chances and they do stuff they like amazing stuff happens. So you put yourself out there, Hikari. Anyways, he's like, bring your oboe. You're like, okay, sure, whatever. You go in the Ford Focus, and then so you pull up, and then what happens?
So they, I mean, I invited Ryan Clark to our concerts many of times. So he does know that I play like music and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So but anyways, I just go in there. They're just like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, not much. And they're just like, yeah, just come on into this meeting room. Just like, oh, okay. And then it's like, like, sign this. And I'm like, okay. And then he goes, all right, so the thing that we're about to tell you, you cannot tell it to your mom or like anyone. Maybe you can tell it to Ryan, but like, like you cannot tell anyone about this. I'm just like, okay, I promise I will not tell anyone about this. And then they just fire up this game on their Switch, right? And it was like the game that you see that's like basically finished product. And I'm just like, what is this? Like, that looks amazing. And then they go, oh, like, we're working with Nintendo. I'm like, what? How? Like, because like even for them, like they couldn't believe this was happening, because I think it might be the first ever the indie game studio getting the Nintendo IP and working with that title, right? It's just
Nintendo's like super protective over everything, which I get. So it's you're sitting here in a room with indie developers that have the first, essentially, or maybe first well-known Nintendo license to a game, and then you're like, oh, this game's awesome, but why am I here? Or like, what did they say?
So Ryan Clark goes like, well, so we want to make this, but kind of like blend in of the like flavor from Crypt of Necrodancer. So one of the most like known enemy from the Zelda series is called Wizrobe. So it's like it's a wizard in a robe, so it's a Wizrobe. But they're like, okay, Wizrobe. So like that's how the oboe and the Wizrobe got formed. They're like, okay, great. Okay, so that monster is gonna be a boss. It's gonna play oboe. Do we know anyone that plays oboe? And then Ryan Clark goes like, I know someone who actually and also lives in Vancouver and bam,
also
like,
plays video game music with their oboe.
And here I was, and then Ryan Clark is like, it would be great if you could, because the contract was to not tell anyone about this, it wasn't I will accept this job.
Yeah, just like an NDA, like you can't say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, it would be great if you could do this with Robo for us. I'm just like, heck yes. And it was really funny of how I Ryan Clark even thought that I would deny this like job offer, but he just like, it'd be great if you could do this for us. And I'm just like, yes, heck yes. And then we were just kind of talking about like what would be the musical element for this, like the Danny B, the composer, he doesn't really know much about oboe, right? Not that many people know about oboe.
Yeah, it's like a super rare instrument, like it's not like, piano or guitar or even clarinet or flute. It's like it's very unique. That's why I think the whole thing's an amazing story. So anyways, so like this other composer doesn't know much about the oboe, and so they're looking to you for like guidance as to how to make it authentic and real.
Right. So there's like, so if you play Necrodancer, the game, it's kind of like rock. You hear lots of guitar, you hear lots of drum, and Danny B is really good at that, but he's kind of like a little scared of bringing oboe into that setting, because oboe, if I can just kind of give a little brief explanation of this instrument, the reason why it's so rare, or the reason why you don't really see it well, is because of how difficult the instrument is and how expensive the instrument is and how not welcoming this instrument is to newcomers, right? Like flute, clarinet, you could probably buy those in Costco, right? Like for like couple $100 or something like that. But oboe, even the entrance, like super cheap plastic, those cost at least $2,000 to $3,000, and no parents will just dish out $2,000 to $3,000 on a instrument that you don't know if the kid will play or not, right? And not only that, you have to make your own reed like a mouthpiece. So not only you have to make those, you have to buy it maybe like once a month, right? And like you have to, so it's just so much of dedication already required from the get-go. And that's why people kind of they cannot really start with their or pick up oboe. So that's why it's not very well known. So Danny B goes like, I don't really know about oboe, and I don't even know if it can play in like rock band kind of a setting. And I'm like, I'm gonna tell the truth, I don't think it can either. Like it's a very classical music. It's very like straightforward, only classical music kind of a deal instrument. So I'm just like, but you know what? Like I said, with the quintet, I want to bring the classical music and video game together. So I'm up for a challenge. I don't want to say, no, I cannot do this, right? So maybe we won't go for like kind of rock band setting for this dungeon. Maybe we'll kind of think of it of like rock blend in with classical music. But one of my favorite, I guess, era that was for oboe music was Baroque. So like Baroque music, like harpsichord, like dun 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 dun, kind of like Bach's music. And I'm like, what if we bring that and rock band setting? And then Danny was like, okay, I'm listening. And it's like, I think it'll be really cool because it won't be just like rock band. It will be something that oboe is well known for, but also something that you're really good at, which is like the rock band setting. So we're like, okay, so let's use that idea. And then Danny B, freaking genius composer, goes like, you know what? After a few months, he just brings in the music and is like, what do you think about this music? And I take the music. I'm like, this is amazing. Like,
so he wrote what he wanted. So this is January. You guys are like kind of hashing it back and forth, and then
he's
just like,
kind of like,
is this via email? You guys are like on Discord, like just swapping ideas and.
Right. We're just kind of like getting the idea. I'm just like, this is what we're thinking. And Danny B, after I think couple or few months later, he brings in like this like MIDI track, right? And just like, this is just like, still like work in progress, just kind of like MIDI, just sound file, listen to it, tell me what you think. And I listened to it, it was amazing. It was just like, oh, this is perfect. And so he's like, okay. And then he works more onto the music, and then boom, he gets the Ice Dungeon music, and he gets the Wiz Robo, which is the boss music, done. And then he's like, okay, so like, here's the music. We have to set up a date to record and all that kind of stuff, but we'll give you enough time to like practice on it.
So roughly when was this, when you like had the pretty much finalized music to practice? When did you get that, if you had to guess the month?
I would say March.
Okay.
Yeah, like, so we talked in January, and then a couple of months, like, yeah, so like March.
Okay, so you get the music in March and you start practicing it at home?
I think I got about like 10 days to practice on the music.
Okay.
Before the recording, because at first they really want to release the game in spring, like maybe looking for like April, May, some kind of those months. I think that's Nintendo's hope to release those days, right? So we had to like, okay, we gotta record this thing right now. So we set up a date. I go to, and I suggested this music studio. It's the Monarch studio in Vancouver. I worked with them with my quintet before, and they're really, really good. They're really professional. So we go in there, we record. Even the sound engineering guy doesn't know what we're recording because he didn't sign the NDA, right? So it's just like, oh, the music sounds good. Like, what is this? Like, this is so unusual, right?
Well,
you're like,
well, this is also your first time recording for a video game. So was it recording for a video game? How was it different than recording with your quintet? Was Danny in there directing you and saying like, hey, do this again? Or how did that go down?
That's actually a really, really good question, because it's so, I guess, like, things that are normal to me are not really normal to everybody. So I forgot to explain it, but I was really lucky enough. So like, to explain that, I was really lucky that one of the youth orchestra that I was in, Vancouver Youth Symphony Orchestra, was invited to be playing at the Vancouver Olympic closing ceremony. So back in 2010, we had an Olympic here in Vancouver, and we were invited to play the music for closing ceremony. So we had a whole bunch of music, but because in order to send out the music like throughout the whole world, the live setting wasn't good enough, right? So we actually recorded for like throughout a whole week. We recorded all our music. So that's where I learned, instead of just kind of like, hey, start music cue, it wasn't like that. We actually had to play it by the metronome. So we have this headphone, and the headphone only has one ear, and the other ear is just there isn't other ear, because that's for you to hear your own music. So in the headphone, there's just metronome clicking, like that, and you just have to play perfectly in beat with the metronome happening in your ear, in your headset. So that's where I got the practice from, just kind of recording with the metronome. And then just recording with the Hikari Woodwind Quintet, just trying to not make any stupid mistake, right? Just so that save other people's time. That kind of combined into this recording session where I'm like, okay, would there be a metronome or would there be backup soundtrack? I don't know. But whatever it is, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, you'd already done it before.
So I come in and then they're like, so I don't know what you prefer. Do you prefer the metronome or do you prefer the backup track that's happening with you so you can play and beat? And I said, whatever is comfortable with you guys, just give me whatever. So they both all prepare for the metronome beeping and the backup track. So we decided to use both. And then I just recorded, and that's how I practiced at home too. Like I practiced myself recording with the backup track with the metronome. So I would just be on time perfectly at the same time, not sounding like a machine, right? So that's what happened in the studio. Like since I had the past experience, that's how we did it. And it was really cool because I don't know, when I was practicing the music, I was just like, Kate, this is it. This is like actually what you've been driven of, like a game. And I didn't even care if it was gonna be like a cell phone game, PC game. It didn't matter. I just wanted a game featuring my playing, and for somehow it was Nintendo. For somehow it was Zelda, and I'm just like, this is it. You cannot F it up. There's no room for you to F it up. So I'm just, practicing. I'm just, don't think too much. Just be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I did at the studio, and we booked the room for 4 hours, but we actually finished recording within an hour and a half. And it wasn't just 2 pieces. Like we had to do a bunch of like stuff. Like if you play throughout the game, they're just like a lot of music actually. So they thought like they weren't sure if we were able to finish this whole bunch of music and whole bunch of sound effects and all that kind of stuff within 4 hours, but we actually finished it in an hour and a half. So the NEB is just sitting there like, wait, we're done. Like, we're done. That's it. and I'm like, and I'm just, because I was so self-conscious, like because of my background, right? Everyone's saying like, you sound perfect, but that's not the style that we're looking for, right? And that's like what I've been always hearing from others. So I was just like, wait, that's it? Or is it okay? Are you sure? Like, I'm not sure if that's good enough. And like, this is perfect. You're like, you rocked it, Kate. I'm just like, oh, I don't know. I think I sound horrible. I just didn't go into the back room, listen to it.
So you got to hear it. You got to hear the whole thing like blended together for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, the recording. If you listen to the final product, it's actually kind of mixed, like in a way that it doesn't sound just pure oboe. It sounds a little kind of like they gave like little effect on the oboe sounding, so it kind of blends in better with the electric guitar and the drum. So when the recording was finally done, it's just pure oboe, like no mixing, no nothing, right? It was just my sound. I was just like, oh my gosh, I sound horrible. I think I don't know. I just like, oh, this is horrible. I think I just like, I don't know. I don't think I'm good enough. And then Danny V is like, no. It's great. Like,
you're like, here's this legendary video game composer saying, no, Kate, like you had to get it done in 4 hours. We got it done in 90 minutes, and it's awesome. So I see all these pieces of your life and your life story come together, and you talked about, snowboarding, and the goal is to get sponsored, and then so you can go do cool stuff. So I got it, and you brought up the snapback, the hat you got it. So I gotta ask you. So now you're sponsored by Red Bull. How did that happen? Tell us the story behind that. Do they show up at your door with like 2 metal cases of Red Bull and say, welcome to the team, or what do they do?
Well, I mean, kind of, but not. So it was really, it's really weird. It kind of goes back to, I did this charity event like 3 years ago, and the guy who runs it like offered me a flight to go out to do it. And I was like, dude, I got 2,000 subscribers. Send out one of these speedrunners that don't. I'll fly myself out as charity. Like, it's for St. Jude. It's children's cancer. You don't need to pay me to come out to do that. You know what I mean? And fast forward, this guy ends up, getting a job at Red. I don't know how much I should tell this. It's fine.
Yeah, no,
Fine.
if you can't tell me, like it's been a great interview.
This guy gets a job at Red Bull, and he has always been a big supporter of the speedrun community. He pitched me as an athlete, and like with not without me, I had no idea about this. Like I had no idea this was happening.
Oh, you didn't know this was happening?
No. He talks to me about this, and he invites me to like a Red Bull party one time, and I meet a lot of people, you know, and it's all cool because like I always thought I never thought like that would be a possibility, but I did think like Red Bull being involved in speedrunning could be a possibility one day. They sponsor Flug Tag, and obviously I'm familiar with them. Their snowboard work is just probably made. They're part of the greatest snowboard movie of all time. That's all, and they sponsored the best snowboarders in the world, John Jackson, Travis Rice. So like being someone like as a snowboarder, like Red Bull's like the ultimate sponsor because you get to go to the coolest places and do the coolest things. And like John Jackson gets to literally go to the coolest place and do the most awesome stuff, and he's the coolest human in the world. But yeah, I just was, I don't know, I never really thought anything of it. Like I just was talking to these guys, and I didn't know like if I just was like meeting people, you know what I mean? Like at any like at PAX or anything else in gaming events, you just meet people all the time, and I didn't really think anything of it. And they were doing a Killer Queen tournament, and I was like, oh, I love Killer Queen. I don't know if you're familiar with Killer Queen. It's okay, it's an arcade game. It's a 5-on-5 arcade game, and it's basically like it's like platforming League of Legends is what I would compare it to. So it's kind of like it's a team-based game where people have different abilities, but it's all platforming on one screen, 5-on-5. It's really, really cool. If you ever go to a barcade, play Killer Queen. It's really big in Chicago. It's huge in Chicago. So they were just sponsoring this Killer Queen tournament. I was like, oh, hey, I love Killer Queen. And they were like, hey, well, would you like to come out? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And they flew me out. I got to see they bring me around. They gave me like a tour of the office. And when I went in the studio, like my logo was everywhere, and it was really cool. It was like super nice, and we were just talking. I was just meeting more people and talking. And then they one guy was like, oh, maybe are you potentially coming on? And I didn't know, and that was that. And so I do that, and I think like, man, to be really cool to be a Red Bull athlete, and I like don't hear from them for a while.
Well, I'd imagine even so too, because your snowboarding background, like you like to have that be a possibility in your new world is like
a full circle. Yeah, a full circle moment. Yeah, it was definitely a full circle moment. So I was like super high hopes and like super low hopes, and I was just like, then they sent me some cans, and I met this guy who's out here, who's my Red Bull manager. I met him. We started talking, and I pitched him I pitched him like all my ideas for speedrunning and events and things that I wanted to do. And, we started keeping in touch, and then they invite me down one more time to LA to do, it's called performance testing. And
at this point you got to be like, hey, they're kind of into me now. Like
well, no, so I go out, and it's not just athletes. It's also like other people like me that they've been like flirting with. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I didn't really think anything of it, honestly, like too deep into that even. And we get there, and I'm training with like straight up Olympians, dude. Like Payson McClevin, Chloe. Oh my God, what's her last name? I don't want to mispronounce it. It's hard to pronounce. It's like a Polish name that's hard to pronounce.
Just tell her what event does she do, or what is
she does? They're bikers. They're bikers, but she's a gold medalist. Yeah. I was Daniel's. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on names right now? Daniel Sandoval. Oh my God, Daniel Sandoval. I had to look it up. We play Fortnite. Daniel Sandoval, who's an X Games gold medalist. Like all these like incredible athletes are there, and they're putting us through the ringer, like training us, taking our body fat, like getting our heart rates up, hooking us up to machines. And it's just like, it's everyone and me, this video game nerd. You know what I mean?
Are you like working out and stuff, like running, and like what do you do?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Running. We're doing team training exercises. We're going to the beach. We're eating healthy. We're getting hooked up to these crazy machines, and they're like telling us.
Are they filming this at the time? Or are they doing this for content? No.
This is just to get you like, this is how this is your performance, and I'm sure they rank us all. They tell us how we can get better, and they take your blood, all sorts.
That's
of
cool.
stuff.
It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, they're amazing. Oh yeah, that's like the beginning of how cool Red Bull is. But they do all this, and then in the middle of it, who's now my partner manager and the gaming guys, they come up and they're like, "Hey, we got to talk to you," and they're like, they do the sad face thing where everyone acts sad, but it's really about to be good news. You know what I mean? We had a call with, we already had one call with whoever it is, and they're like, they weren't sure about speed running and everything else. We had another call with them, and would you like to be a Red Bull athlete? Like, that was so that was that. And
what was your reaction? Did you just were you shocked? Or you screaming?
I was pumped because at this point I wanted to live this I wanted all this access. I'm realizing oh my God, these guys have access to these doctors and these, you know what I mean? I might be able to tap into something I don't know about. Maybe I'll be able to play at a high level till I'm 40 or something. I was just so excited about the potential stuff we could do together, which I know that sounds lame, but
no, I don't think it sounds lame at all. But it's they have means to a world that the average person doesn't have access to.
Yeah, they have just this and they have a man, it's the health aspect of it too, which is kind of I don't know, that's the access they have. It's the access. So I was pumped, and they're like, well, we can't tell anyone, you can't tell anyone. We got to think of a big way to announce it. We always announce Red Bull athletes in big ways, so you got to come up with something. So a week goes by, and I'm pitching them ideas, and they're like, no, and then all of a sudden I'm streaming one day. It was actually a day where I didn't feel like streaming. I was not into it at all. And I was kind of my wife, I was like, oh, maybe I should take a day off. And she's like, no, you got to stream. You got to do it. I got stuff to do today anyway. So I stream. And then all of a sudden, my partner manager breaks through my door. And I thought my initial thing is I'm getting spotted, and my partner manager breaks through my door, and then there's a cameraman, and then right behind him is John Jackson, my favorite snowboarder in the world, and he's also a Red Bull athlete. And he comes in and is like, yo, here's your hat, here's your welcome to the Red Bull team. And they had my announcement all planned already, and it was just so I don't know, such a surreal experience. So he hung out and played video games with me. I played video games with I've always wanted to snowboard with this guy, just be in the same mountain as him. And then he came and played video games with me and was his mind was blown by Hard Mario. And I was so nervous, my heart was beating. I was playing so bad.
That's awesome. So definitely,
and
life-changing moment. For multiple reasons. Oh
yeah. So it was so cool. And now we text and DM each other all the time, and I'm always jealous of he's always on some insane mountain just doing something awesome. And yeah, it's really cool. They're awesome. They treat me exactly like they treat every other athlete there. You're just kind of, it's really cool.
So then Auto Chess comes out. And is there any point in your streaming career where you're like, hey, I'm making this big switch for people watch me for Hearthstone, and now I'm going to start playing something else? Does that run through your head at all? Or you're like, I'm good. I'd rather play a game that I enjoy and lose?
I was pretty scared to leave Hearthstone. I took a pretty big hit switching from Hearthstone to Auto Chess.
Can you give us context of numbers?
Sure. Yeah. So in my Hearthstone days, I would average between 3,000 and I think 6,000 was the peak for when the 110 stuff. And as Hearthstone died, my numbers would die because Hearthstone has not been popular. Year after year, the stream numbers go down in Hearthstone. So it wasn't my stream was dying; it was Hearthstone was dying, and I was dying with it.
Well, it had a good run. Well, it had a great run.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're like, my stream was dying too. Get me off this ship.
But it would have been more successful for me to stream Hearthstone than Auto Chess. Okay. And David actually showed me Auto Chess because it's a custom game in the Dota client, and he plays Dota. And he's so addicted to this game. I don't know what it is, but I don't want to play some custom Dota game.
Like a mod. You don't want to play a mod. Yeah.
I don't want to do that. But he's like, no, you have to try this. Before I was about to get on my stream, he's like, no, you have to try this one game. And I'm like, okay. You want to show me? Sure. and I play one game with him. And then I'm like, no, move over. I'm playing the next one. And then I play another one as I install on my computer. And then we play for 24 hours straight. I don't stream that day.
Oh, I thought you streamed it. You didn't stream it?
No, I didn't stream it. I just played for 24 hours, go to bed, wake up, stream. And I'm like, I think I'm going to play auto chess today. And then I stream auto chess for 24 hours. It's so fun. Oh my God. The genre is like, and it's like a new way to think. It's like, what we've needed in gaming, you know, we've had the same game over and over and over and over. It's like, oh, another MOBA, oh, another MMO, oh, another battle royale, right? Like it's all the same thing but reskinned with like one cool new mechanic. Like, great. But this is like a new genre, new ways to think, new ways to play.
How do you describe the genre? Because I've seen it, I've never played it. To me, it's like chess. So like you buy chess pieces.
It's not chess.
That fight for you. So how would you describe it to someone that's never played it?
It's like, okay, it's like drafting. Oh, there's like card games that are drafting games that are really popular. Shoot, I don't play them. But it's like you're constantly drafting as you're playing. You're like building a team. Dominion, yes. Okay. Dominion is the one.
Okay.
Have you heard of that? Have you played that?
No, I've never played Dominion.
Oh, okay. So basically you start with nothing and then like you have currency and you just like are getting stronger as you go, like as you progress. But everyone else is doing the same thing and you're just trying to see whose army is stronger. And
you spend your money to buy better players or gear them better characters to like.
So there's like, I think around 50 different characters and they cost between 1 and 5 gold. And the 1 cost units are like the crappiest, but like, you know, that's all you get at the first stage, right? And if you get 3 of a kind, then you level it up.
Okay.
And it doubles its health and attack. Okay. And its ultimate. So it's like cool. Like,
you're selling me on it? Okay.
Yeah, it's like a slot machine. It's like a skilled slot machine. And you get that dopamine every time like you hit something, you're like, yes. And you're literally sitting there rolling like a freaking idiot. But it's so fun. And there's so many different things you can do with it. And every game is so unique because there's that element of RNG, right? So it's fun because there's so many things you can do. Every game is going to be different. Every game's going to feel different. Sometimes you're going to high roll out of your mind and you're going to want to tell people about it. Right? It's great. Oh, it just has the right formula.
I think you found your game.
It is so good. I mean, I mean, you see how popular it is on Twitch, right? And honestly, like auto chess was not that popular on Twitch. I got my average back up to 3,000.
When you switched to auto chess, what happened to your numbers? Like day
down
one?
To like 1K, down to 1K.
Okay.
And then I built it back up. And in April, my stream was kind of dying. It was like around like 1,500, maybe like 2K only because David was streaming Hearthstone and then hosting me every day. So I was like kind of just leeching. And then
that sounds like a good partnership. I wouldn't call it leeching. It's good strategic partnership.
It's leeching. It's fun. I host him every day now. It feels so good.
So your stream's building back up. Are people saying go back to Hearthstone?
Yeah.
And
I made a clip. I was just saying no, I'm done with it. Until they come out with a new game mode, then I'll check it out again. But as it stands, like this new expansion, it's the same. I looked at the cards. They look cool, but like it's the same thing. Yeah. Okay, in auto chess, I built my stream back up to 3,000 average viewers because I streamed every day in May. And I was like, May is going to be the month for me. I'm going to stream every day. I'm going to have a good attitude, blah, 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 blah. And I did it. And it was a really good month. And then they announced TFT, Valve announced Underlords. You know, everyone wanted a piece of this, even though it was small on Twitch. It just had the right formula. If you played it, it looks like crap. Like when you watch it, not TFT, but like auto chess, right? It's in a custom game. Like that, you know, like when I hear about it, I don't want to play it. And when I see it, I don't want to play it. But when I play it, yes, it has it. It just has it. And
so May was all auto chess for you?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the 2 announcements come out and you're like, what do you do? Like
I was really worried because I was like, I felt like I didn't have time to get comfortable because I finally was getting comfortable, like getting into a rhythm. You know, I was thinking about quitting streaming back in January because I had nothing to play.
Really?
And then because I didn't want to play it. Like after Hearthstone, I was like, I can't stream Hearthstone anymore. There isn't a game that I realistically want to play. I don't want to see my stream slowly die.
Did you have this discussion with your community, or is it just all internal?
No, I don't know. It's not something I want to bring up.
So like, how close were you to saying like, I can't play Hearthstone anymore, I'm done? Like, are you like 25%? Like,
I was kind of keeping hopeful because like, I think it was in January that they announced like there's a new expansion. December maybe. I think December. It was a new expansion. I was hanging on until a new expansion, and Hearthstone numbers go up for the first week of expansion, and then it slowly dies. Expansion. So I was holding out for the expansion. I was like, maybe it'll be new. It's a new year. Like they usually switch things up more. They promised a lot of change, and I played it, and it felt exactly the same. And I was like, I can't. I was holding out for this, and I can't do it. And I was like, I'm going to play Hearthstone for the first week of the expansion. And then by the end of that day, I was like, I'm going to play Hearthstone maybe tomorrow. And I was like, I'm not playing Hearthstone tomorrow. I think by the end of that stream, I gave up. Yeah.
So did you just not stream for like a week, or what did you do? Like between wanting to quit and auto chess, like I can't imagine that lined up perfectly.
I mean, it was at the beginning of auto chess. I didn't really understand. I didn't think auto chess was going to take off, and I didn't know like the future of it. But I was pretty happy playing auto chess, and everyone was playing it, so it was fun. Yeah, I mean, I was really scared when TFT and Underlords got announced because I got comfortable. I was like one of the biggest streamers in auto chess. It was like maybe Rekful was bigger than me. I think that was it. And then
like you felt good. Really you felt like you could win a lot of games.
I was good at the game. It was something I wanted to play, and there was viewership for it. And then once TFT announced, I was like, oh my God, if everyone plays, like if Pokey plays, if Rekful and Crip and all these big streamers play, I don't know if I can compete viewership wise. Like even having a big game like that is not necessarily the best thing for my career, right? Because instead of being like number 2 in a category, you're like number 20, and then that kind of suffers, right? Like for example, on expansion day for Hearthstone, I don't even bother streaming on the first day because I will be like 20th on the list.
What's your mindset behind that? You don't want to be 20th on the list because why?
Oh, because you don't get viewers. And then you can't really like.
But what about the people that always watch? What about the community that watches you?
Yeah, I mean, I have a really nice core community for sure, but I mean, it sounds kind of toxic to only care about numbers, but without numbers, you don't really have a job, right?
Yeah.
So it is a little toxic to think that way, but.
No, I'm just
kind of gotten me this far.
No, I'm not. I'm just asking because I don't know. You know, like here's Hafu, like you're an extremely successful streamer talking about not streaming your main game on the day an expansion comes out. To me, it's like,
because I wait for them to go to bed, and then because like everyone goes to bed at some point, and then if I'm the most popular streamer, then I get all the viewers.
I mean, you laugh, but it's smart. It's smart business.
Yeah, I mean, I've always done it.
Yeah,
I sneak myself in when if like Crip isn't on, if Ty's isn't on, like if one of them skip a day, I'm there. Like I see if I open Hearthstone and I'm more popular than all the other people on, I get myself on regardless of how tired I am. Just go, like it's my time. It's my time.
Okay, so there's the fork in the road. There's TFT and Underlords. Like, do you automatically know where you're going with it? Do you how do you pick a side? Are you analyzing, hey, these people are streaming this, or what did you?
I played both, and I was honest with my community. I'm gonna play whichever is more popular. I mean, that makes sense because it probably means it's a better game.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Yeah, and better for you.
Yeah, it's better for me and probably the better game.
Yeah.
Generally, the thing that everyone wants to watch is the game everyone's playing because it's more fun. Yeah. I mean, some people don't want to hear that, but that's how I feel, right? Like Fortnite is a great game. A lot of people want to play it and a lot of people want to watch it. And that's why it's so popular.
Yeah.
And it might not be for everyone, but it definitely has the right ingredients, right?
Right.
That's why it does so well.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I streamed both and then obviously saw TFT was doing better. So I played more TFT than Underlords, and yeah.
So it's a little bit more than so you're playing TFT, and like I said, I never played the game, but I saw on, you know, Hafu #1 in TFT, you know, like, and then, you know, we talk maybe half a year ago about bringing you on the podcast, and, you know, I always check in your stream, and like Hafu's like exploded since the last, like, that's, so tell us what happened. I mean, you went from like, I didn't know your early context numbers, but let's say 2,000, 3,000, 6,000 to, I watched you the other day, you had like 12,000 watching.
Yeah.
You know, like what, like what, that's gotta feel awesome. #1.
It feels insane. I feel super grateful every day. I feel like it's important to tell your community how much how grateful you are all the time. And I make a point to, but it's really a dream come true. I mean, it's the break that you dream about, right? And like, we already have the dream job, right? I have the life that I want already. And the fact that I've been able to do it for 7 years is crazy. But having that kind of exposure, like, holy crap, like, I mean, my number is quadrupled. I'm in the last 30 days I've streamed, I'm averaging over 11,000 viewers,
which is insane. I mean,
that's insane. Yeah. I was celebrating 3K viewers in May, right? Like, I was like, woohoo, back to 3K. I can still stream for a living, you know? Yeah. And yeah, I mean, 11K, and I don't know, I peak at like 17, 18K every day. That's insane. Never thought I would see that in my lifetime of streaming. I never thought it would be me.
So how did that happen? Like, it was a gradual thing, or was it like, hey,
no,
so tell us about that, because that's like, you'll just wake up one day and have 18,000 people watching you.
In PvE, I just got really good. Like, I figured something out, and I figured like a busted strat, and I won like 80% of my games, which is absurd. There's 8 people in your game, so getting first. Like, what's like 80%,
what's like a good average for someone who doesn't like a good
like
average?
20%, 30%. I mean, there's 8 people. Think about how often you can win if you're playing against people of your the same skill level, right?
Yeah.
You should win 1 out of 8 games.
So you're winning 80% of your game.
I was winning 80% of my games. I was just winning every freaking game. And people had been talking about MMR. So there's this like private Discord where they get feedback from a lot of popular streamers and a lot of high-rated players between Riot and us. And people were whispering about like MMR and stuff. And I was like, I just won. I don't think I've lost a game in like 3 days. I was like, I must be up there. And one of them was like, oh, actually you're #1. And I was like, what? And I made a plea to them. I actually reached out. I was like, wait, this is a big deal to me. Like, I think it would really help my stream, and it would give my, like, I know it's selfish, but it would give me a lot of credibility when a lot of people won't give that to me.
That's not selfish at all.
It is a little selfish.
Well, if you're the #1 player in the world, why wouldn't people want to know that?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's.
I'm just gonna say, I don't see it as selfish. I can understand your perspective why you see it selfish. So you'd say like, so what did you say to Riot? Hey, put this out here.
Yeah, I just posted on the thing. So all the Riot employees can't talk in that Discord. They can only like react on, you know, like how you can react with emojis.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's really hard, like, for girls to get recognition, and this would do a lot to give me credibility. So it would mean a lot to me. And then pretty much every Riot girl like reacted with a heart on it. It was cool. It was awesome. Nice to see. Yeah, I got a lot of love on that one. So it was nice to see a lot of other girls feeling the same as I did. Yeah, because they told me that because of what I typed, they decided to go ahead and post it because they were like iffy about it.
Yeah.
And it was, I thought it would be like a boost, and then I would go back down to like, 4,000, 5,000, and I would be okay with it. But it just exploded and stayed up there. And it has not faltered, and it's been insane.
How has that changed how you stream? Like, so now, like, does it change anything about what you do, how you interact, your community?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I stream every day on a schedule now, which I never had before. If I'm late, I gift out 100 subs.
I saw you tweet that today. This morning. Yeah, like late 100 subs.
My alarm, I set an alarm for 10 a.m. instead of 2 a.m. because I set it while David was watching TV. So like the Alexa got confused. But I mean, I've been really good about it. Okay. I've been on every day, like give or take,
When did you decide to set that schedule?
Oh, before it was like once TFT was happening, I was like, I need to establish myself. I'm gonna just I told David, I was like, I'm going to take the night shift. Like, we're not going to be able to see each other very often, but I can't compete with like all these people during the day. Like during the day, I was getting like around 2,000 viewers, and at night I got up to like 6K, and like I would average 4K. I was like, okay, the night shift. Yes, I know this. I know this all too well, you know. And so I was just ready to take it. And now that I'm there, it's fine. Like it's a fine shift. And yeah, I don't know. I don't want to like rely on my numbers forever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just, it feels safe there. So I will be staying there. It feels amazing to have so many viewers every day. Like, I don't know. It feels kind of dreamlike.